So you offer minimum wage, there is often crunch time, and you have to come in on weekends, right? Where do I sign? Congratulations, you just landed an interview and you are now a step closer to actually becoming a professional artist. And like with any interview, you need to present yourself in the best way possible in order to leave a good impression and land your dream job. But is this a guarantee that you are actually going to be landing a dream job? Sometimes we get a little bit too preoccupied about how we present ourselves, which is very understandable, but we don't really pay attention how the studio or the employer presents themselves towards us. So without further ado, here are 5 signs, or in this case, 5 red flags, that you should be aware of during an interview. So the first sign is something that is mostly common among juniors. So say for example you're talking with a recruiter or you're being interviewed and they ask you to do a long test for free. In this case, you should always remember that your labor has value. Either you've been already working in the industry for a few years or you're just starting, you are no longer a student that needs to prove themselves by submitting a test. You should remember that you're being interviewed in order to be paid to use your skills, not volunteer them. And to be honest, if you are an artist, you have already submitted a portfolio, or if you are an animator, you have already given your demo reel and your resume that shows where you've been so far. So they should be able to make a decision if you are a good fit for the role based on these things that you have provided to them. And especially if you are just starting, I can totally understand the frustration, but this is something that I have also done in the past before. I have accepted to do a few tests in order to get my first job, but every time I would put in a few hours and then get rejected, it would only result in self-doubt and feeling that I might not be worthy to be a professional animator, which is obviously not a good thing. And the important thing that you should always keep in mind is that you have invested some amount of time and money in order to grow your skills and reach the point where you are right now. Maybe you have studied in the university or you have done an online course. It's time to get this money back, and your time is also precious. An alternative that could work in your favor is giving them a daily rate and asking them to pay you for the amount of time that you're going to invest in order to do the test that they're asking you for. In this case, you get a day of paid labor, and if the test gets rejected, at least you will get some money for it. The second red flag is when the interview is constantly being delayed because they cannot find the person that is gonna do the interview, or maybe they're just late and you're just waiting in the studio for someone to be available to have the interview with you. Remember that first impressions are everything. They should be excited to meet you like you are excited to be in the studio. If there's no excitement at all, maybe they don't really care about the person that they're gonna have an interview with. Maybe they need to hire a certain amount of people in order to reach a specific number of employers. And this is something that can happen very often, especially with big animation studios, when they need to hire a certain amount of people in order to reach a specific number of employers, because they need to meet a specific deadline on time, so they need more hands to put out work very fast. And this is a situation that a lot of people accept, but it's probably nice to keep it in mind from the beginning so that you know what you're getting yourself into. But even in this situation, it's not a good thing when the interviewer is late, because maybe that shows that there is no personal evaluation for the candidate that is being interviewed, and maybe they don't really care about their artistic side. Another thing that can be very annoying when it happens is when the interviewer will not stop talking about themselves. Again, they should be excited to meet you. They should be excited to talk about you as an artist and what you can offer to the team. One of my personal experiences is when I had an interview for a big project in a big animation studio with my future lead, and the thing is that they would not stop talking about themselves and how they are the best in the industry and how the projects are of such high quality and how I should need to prove myself and prove that I'm worthy while working there. I was really getting the feeling that I was being interviewed by someone like a teacher or an authoritative figure rather than a colleague, because I was not really given any space to express my opinion on the information I was getting from them. Another huge red flag is when somebody during the interview is talking in a negative way about your work. This is the most valuable asset you have. It's your work, and no one should be allowed to talk in a way that underestimates it for any reason. You are there, you're doing the interview because you have the skills and you have the experience that is required for this position. So there's really no excuse for anyone to talk in a derogatory way about the stuff that you have already done. Again, same personal experience, same interview. I was there for a VFX project and they would constantly remind me how I am a cartoon animator and this is less than the work they were doing in the studio. They would constantly tell me, yeah, this is cartoon animation and you can cheat a lot, you can work around it. We are doing VFX and this is realistic, it has to be convincing. It's not as easy as cartoon animation and it's more complex and you cannot cheat a lot. I know this is a huge red flag and I should have known better, but I was there because of the prestige of the project and because I wanted the experience, but in all honesty I should have second thoughts and I should be a little more suspicious when somebody is judging my work in such a negative way, because that doesn't really show a lot of respect in me as an artist. And the last sign you should pay attention to is how high is the turnover for the position you are applying to. This is actually something that happens before the interview process. So maybe you see online that a studio is advertising a job opening for a specific position, and then after a couple of months you see that they're still looking for the same job opening, and then after a couple of more months the position is still open, and this goes on and on. This should put you into thoughts. Maybe people don't stay in the studio, maybe they leave and this is for a specific reason. This could be either because the environment in the studio is not as friendly as it should be, or maybe the employees are overworked. Maybe there's too much work and they eventually get tired and they decide to leave. This has actually happened with a couple of projects that I have been chasing in the past because I like the presentation of the project or the studio, and I see the same job opening every few months and I still keep trying to get on board of the project, but then I have learned from friends that are actually working on it that they had to leave it because the amount of work was too high and it started having a toll on their health. Maybe they had headaches, pain in the wrists, or problems with their posture. So this is another thing you should keep in mind the next time you apply for a position during your job hunting. So obviously, passion and excitement are very important, but they're not the only things to consider during an interview. You should always pursue the best conditions to get on board of a project. Filling a position and getting hired is business for both the company but also for you, the artist. And you should be mindful of whether the employer respects you as an artist and if they offer the things that you need in order to have balance between your work and your personal life. And now it's up to you. What are your interview experiences? Do you have to add any more red flags that people should be aware of? Please feel free to share them in the comment section down below. And if you've got any value from this video, please consider giving it a like or subscribe to the channel for more videos. And with that said, I've been Thanos, you've been awesome, and I'll see you in the next video.